Welcome to Dropping In, a podcast of storytelling and interviews with your host, Winter Olympian Mercedes Nickel.
Thank you so much for dropping in. This is Series 7, where I have some amazing guests that have truly outstanding stories to share with us. I will be chatting with Team Canada's Paralympians. So cool. So that is Series 7, and we have a new guest on episode 62 that will be dropping in with us today. So let me give you a little inside scoop as to who our next guest is. This guest played basketball in high school and university. After 3 knee surgeries on the same knee, doctors said she would never play competitive sports again. Well, never say never. She remembered a classmate that played wheelchair basketball and decided to give it a go. And that took her places. Playing wheelchair basketball in 2014, she had earned a 5-year scholarship to play at the University of Alabama, taking home silver at the Intercollegiate Championships, and she was named Most Improved Player. Then she represented Team Canada, taking home silver at the 2015 Parapan Parapan American Games, and was on Team Canada at the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Paralympic Games, placing 5th. Moving into 2018, she and Team Canada placed 5th at the World Championships. She is now a psychologist working with the Women's Canadian Para Ice Hockey Team while working towards her PhD. Now, if that wasn't enough for you, she's also the vice chair of Team Canada's Paralympic Athletes Council, who serve as the collective voice advocating the best interest for Canada's Paralympic athletes and Paralympic movement within Canada. This daughter basketball player, Paralympian, Pan-Para medalist, psychologist, soon to be PhD, has achieved a lot and is giving back a lot more. Let me introduce Erica Gravel. Erica, how are
Hi,
you?
thanks for having me.
Thanks
I'm
for
all right.
dropping
I just
in.
want to clarify one little thing. I'm a physiologist,
A
not
physiologist.
yeah. I don't
Thank
think I
you.
would help anyone with their psychology.
A physiologist. I'm so sorry. A
That's okay.
physiologist working with, and this is new that you're working with the women's para ice hockey team.
Yeah, it kind of came to fruition through conversations and things lined up, and so I guess I've been kind of doing administration stuff for a few months, but my first in-person camp will be in July. So yeah, on the other side now.
So cool. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
You ready to drop in with our rapid fire questions that are never rapid?
I don't know, but here we go.
Okay, here we go. Number 1, do you have or did you have a lucky charm?
No,
Nothing?
over time. No, not really. I think over time, after moving all over the place and whatnot, it almost is one of those things. I actually, before games and even practices, I kept my like pre-game routine to like 5 minutes
Okay.
because it's like sometimes the bus would show up, like you would get to the venue right
Mhm.
before the game or like an hour and a half. So I wasn't ever really into um that type of stuff. I don't know. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. That's fine.
Boring.
You're not the first person to say that you don't. Don't worry about it. Number
Mhm.
5, what would be the favorite place that you went traveling with the team for basketball and then also for another one for pleasure?
Ooh, I think Japan.
Yeah.
Um, or even I even find the like South America really cool.
Mhm.
I pretty much like any culture that's very different.
Mm.
I find it's like even in Brazil and in Asia, it's like when you go into the grocery store, it's a cool experience.
Right.
And just everything. I really like the Japanese culture too.
Mhm.
So, yeah, definitely Japan. As for pleasure, I don't know. It's tricky, but I went to like Greece a few years ago, and that was cool just for the architecture. But this past winter, I decided to go skiing in the Alps. And the thing is that I didn't really have a strong skiing background, so I actually trained this winter to do something uh, interesting and challenging. And so I would say, like, hands down, that has been my favorite trip.
Skiing.
And yeah, it was incredible. It was my first time skiing in the mountains, and my boyfriend and I went to Chamonix. So
Aw,
yeah, no, it was incredible. We'll go back for sure.
awesome. So cool. We will get back to that. The number 3, big city or small town?
Oh, I don't know. I find living in a big city now,
Yeah,
it's
and you're in Toronto, right?
yeah, I'm in Toronto, and
Mhm.
what's super interesting is that I'm originally from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, so it's a small city, um, kind of in the north. And so, what's so funny is that when I was growing up, like going to the city meant going to Saskatoon, which is a population of like
I've been there.
200,000 or so. Yeah, Saskatoon was the big
It's cute.
city.
It is
Yeah,
cute.
it's super cute, and I absolutely love it. But then from there, I came to Toronto, and I think it was a big shock to the system. So I
Okay.
feel like when I'm back home in smaller places, I like it. But then when I'm in Toronto, there's aspects of the big city I do like. But I think I'm starting to lean towards smaller communities more. I don't know.
As
Maybe
you live
it's
in
just
Toronto,
getting
right?
old.
Trying to
Yeah,
finish your
getting
PhD,
old.
you're like, I could get out of here now."
Yeah. I don't know if it's just wanting to finish a PhD or actually get out of here.
Understandable, understandable.
Yeah.
All right, number 4, when you were training in the gym, would you have, like, noise canceling headphones on, or would you, like, want to hear yourself and hear your breath?
Well, this is actually kind of funny because I think when I was younger, I would wear those headphones, but
Yeah,
the thing is like I'll be honest, like I sweat a lot, and
yeah.
so I was actually ruining my headphones because
Oh.
this like when I was training for basketball, so I kind of like gradually went to the like the earbuds,
Yeah,
and now and after wearing like earbuds, I just have I can't wear the big ones anymore. Like
fair.
I just find it a lot other than watching movies on an airplane or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
So
yeah,
so so
it's funny.
still you have music in when you're working out, would
Yeah,
you say? Yeah, yeah.
all the time. Yeah.
The other day, I, like, took my headphone
Oh,
out to, like, I was the only one in the gym. I took my headphone
yeah.
out to, like, listen to myself breathing, and I was like, "Thank God no one else is in here." It just doesn't sound good.
But I usually ride my bike outside, so
Yeah. Too funny.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm,
Number 5, out of all of the games that you have played in wheelchair basketball, is there a
mhm.
standout? Is there a standout one that you remember?
Um, I think yeah, qualifying for the Paralympics in 2020 was
Yeah.
Um, that was probably my most favorite game.
Okay, where
Um,
was that?
that was in Lima in Peru.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
yeah, and it was one of those things I feel that at the beginning of the cycle, we had a lot of turnover,
Mhm.
and so, if we wanted to qualify, like, we actually had to work really hard for 4 years, and I think, at that time too, like, it was a really, crazy month, but I was doing my master's at the time,
Yeah.
and I had defended my master's, and then literally took an Uber from school and went to the airport to qualify for the Paralympics, and I think
My
just
gosh.
the intensity of, that summer to, like, within 2 weeks, I, finished my master's, qualified for Tokyo, and started a PhD, like, it was insane.
Oh
And
my
I think it was
gosh.
just I think it was one of those things too where I couldn't really celebrate my masters because I was literally getting on a plane to go to Lima to qualify for the Paralympics, and I think just the intensity, like, of the masters and trying to qualify for the Paralympics
I'm surprised you
was
didn't come down
amazing.
with, like, shingles or something because of the stress.
Yeah. Well, it was one of those things, like, it was really interesting because when I was leaving my apartment that morning, and I still remember it clearly, it was like and we had a pretty good chance of qualifying if we played well.
Yeah.
So, I thought to myself, I was like, "Well, next time I'm back home, I'll have my master's degree and
No big deal.
qualify for the Paralympics." And in my mind, like, "Wow, this is a pretty big 2 weeks coming up." So,
Huge.
yeah, that was probably my most incredible, 2 weeks of my entire life, probably. It was amazing.
Lima 2016.
Or in, 2019, because I retired right before the Paralympics last summer. There were just some things that came up,
Oh,
so,
okay.
I didn't go, but I trained, like, the entire,
Oh, you did, okay.
quad
For
and
for
stuff, but
yeah,
yeah, but,
and then you
yeah,
had an
no, it
extra
was,
year.
yeah, and then we had an extra year,
Oh,
and
wild.
that was just so
Something in
much,
itself.
like
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, amazing. Okay, number 6. What other sports did you do growing up? We heard that you did basketball, not wheelchair basketball before your 3 knee surgeries. Were there other sports that were in your life?
Yeah, so, I guess one of the things I didn't really realize being from Saskatchewan and then moving to Toronto is just, the cost of sports is so much cheaper where I'm from, and so I was
Oh.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, um, even, like, I coached in a basketball league here for kids or high school, and I think it was around 10 grand, and, where I'm from, sport was never expensive like that to do, like,
Right.
it costs money, so
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to, do a lot of different sports, and
Mhm.
I would say, like, closer to grade 8 and grade 9 all through high school, I would do, like, softball in the summer and
Mhm.
then volleyball and, basketball, and I actually played on the provincial team for softball and,
Oh, no
in grade
way.
12 yeah, in grade 12, I had to
Cool.
choose, if I wanted to play university, like volleyball, softball, um, or basketball, and it's so funny because on paper, I was hands down, like, a way better volleyball player.
Okay.
Yeah, I had, like, NCAA offers for all of the sports.
Wow.
Yeah, and even across Canada, but, what's so crazy about my wheelchair basketball journey is that the reason I decided to go to the University of Saskatchewan was, because Lisa Tomaitis was a part of, like, Team Canada, and
Okay.
long term, that was, like, a dream for me, so I felt if I went to the University of Saskatchewan, I would have a good chance possibly of maybe getting, like, a part of maybe not, like, the Olympic team, but there's, like, the university Team
Yeah.
Canada, and then a lot of her players actually, it's normal for them to go play a few years in Europe, so,
Okay.
um and it's so funny because I think I was so naive and oblivious to, I would say, all of the noise around everything because like one day I was sitting in my grade 12 physics class and
Yeah.
my phone rang and my phone never rang. So the teacher was not impressed, but she's like, okay, like answer it. And it was insane, but it was the athletic director from Gonzaga University asking if I wanted to play basketball and volleyball there. And I
No
told him, no,
way.
I'm good. I'm going to go to the University of Saskatchewan. Thanks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So,
Holy.
yeah, but I mean, what was, uh what was just so, like, incredible was I did end up at my goal, just, like, in a different way, so,
Totally. And I think it's cool for
yeah.
the listeners and the viewers to understand that you don't just like start in one sport. Like for me, I tried a million
Yeah.
different sports, and just having that opportunity to try them is something that's really important as well, I think. That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Mhm.
number 7. What would be the top place for you to train?
Like if I could train anywhere in the world, where would I train?
Yeah, like with your basketball team back in the day.
Saskatoon.
Saskatoon. Shout out
Yeah,
Saskatoon.
yeah. No, it's
Nice.
I I had a really unique experience where um so one of the cool things about Saskatoon, I would say from a sport perspective, it's a small city and not like people know about it, but they don't really know about it.
Yeah.
But there's like a lot of Olympic and Paralympic athletes that, given the size, actually go to every games. And even my sports scientist, like he's worked with some of Canada's top athletes, like Katrina Lemay-Doan,
Mhm.
a bunch of different Paralympians. He worked with like Tessa Virtue and Scott Moore through an
Awesome.
entire quad, and so there's him and Lisa Tomaitis, who was a coach of the Olympic team.
Did you ever tell her
And
that story? Did you ever tell her that story?
oh yeah, we laugh about it all
You do?
the time.
Okay, that's awesome. I
Because
think that's
actually
great.
how the way I decided to go there was she came to my high school in grade 10 in like Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, and I'm
Yeah.
still surprised she even went there because when I was growing up, like there was no club basketball or anything,
Mhm.
and she came to my school one day with Sarah Cooks, who at the time is on the national team, and
Mhm.
I was like so delusional, but I don't know why, but Sarah, she said she didn't start playing basketball till like grade 11 or grade 12 and then made the Huskies and went to the national team. So when I was in grade 9 or in grade 10, in my mind, I'm like, well, she did it with
Yeah.
2 less years than me. So if I practice every single day, I should have a good chance.
I I completely
And that
respect that.
happened.
I respect that. So
So
awesome.
I owe everything I have to Lisa right now. Like,
Oh,
I really do. Like, yeah.
shout out
So,
Lisa.
yeah, no, it's funny.
That's great, that's great. Okay, number
Mhm.
8. You're in school for a PhD. Other than studying at this moment in time, what else can you be found doing?
Um, it's been an interesting year. I don't know if you've went through the same process, but I've kind of like dabbled in different like sports and activities.
Yeah.
Um, I always ride my bike. It's one of those things like I can't really run, so I'm pretty into biking, I would say. Like I go most
Okay.
mornings.
Like, road
Um,
biking or cross country biking?
yeah,
There's so many different kinds of biking now.
yeah. Yeah,
Are you
no road biking.
road biking? Yeah.
Uh,
And then
yeah.
you talked about skiing. So that is funny that you're like, "You probably went through the
Yeah.
same thing." I'm like, "Yeah, I get to do all the summer
Yeah.
sports now. It's, like, so
I know.
fun." Going from, like, winter to winter, winter to winter, like, I didn't get
Yeah.
summer. So, yeah, I hear you on that. I'm glad you
Oh,
got out
yeah, it's
skiing.
funny.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
started playing tennis. Like I take lessons once a week now.
Nice.
But the funny thing about skiing, and I even do mountain biking sometimes, is
Yeah.
now I feel I can do all of the sports I wasn't allowed to do when I was
Right.
training for basketball, like skiing and mountain biking, and
All the
so
extreme
yeah,
ones
no,
now?
it's all the extreme sports.
So
Since
were
my
you
body's not broken enough.
did you have to, like, sign something saying you wouldn't do any of those sports when you were on the team?
I can't remember. I
Maybe.
think so.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I would say I was so for a long time, I was so focused on, um, even trying to make the U of S team, like,
Right.
I think out of everything I've ever done, like, getting that university scholarship was the hardest thing because, like, I was competing against people who played club basketball, who had sports science. Like the only sports science I knew in high school was that I just had to work harder than everyone else.
Well,
And
look at you
so
now.
Yeah, it was really interesting. So I would say like for a bunch of years I chose not to because it could put me at risk of
Yeah.
getting hurt and taken away. But sometimes I missed like that kind of like adrenaline of
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, this
um
question will be a good one, the next
yeah.
one.
Hmm.
Number 5, what would be your favorite part of being on a team?
Oh, I think in my younger years, like I was in a situation where I was a rookie like for every single year because
Mhm.
just the timing. And I think um
I was the veteran
definitely
forever.
yeah, I was a rookie forever.
Okay.
And so like
Opposites.
one of the it's so funny because even in high school and university, I always had like role models and people to look up to. And I
Mhm.
feel like my favorite part about team sports um, was like that family type of
Mhm.
feel. And it's funny because being friends versus family are two completely different things.
Oh, yeah.
Family, yeah, family sees you at your worst and has to like it can be so incredibly hard sometimes. Like
Yeah.
I think um I think one of the biggest things is like having to hold yourself accountable to not be rude to people when you're um someone called it like halt. So like hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. But like being in a team and that everyone is like that at once. So
Don't talk to me when I'm hungry, people.
yeah,
We're
like
not gonna get along.
yeah, but I mean just kind of that grind and it's very like cliche, but working towards those um really challenging goals, especially on the national team. Like, it's just so hard sometimes.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it is still like this
family.
family that you make that you're honestly, they're
You're
also like the
forced.
people that you're forced to be with these people, and me, I was
Yeah,
competing against these people, but, like, honestly, if I
yeah.
were to talk to someone that I hadn't seen in 10 years that I was on the national team with, it would be like we would pick up right where we left off
Oh, yeah, for sure. And
because they know
it's just
everything.
they do, and it's yeah, it's just such a deep connection. Like, it's so
It
cool. Like, you
Yeah.
never. I don't know. Working now, I don't think I would ever have that with my colleagues.
But you don't really travel with them. You're like
No.
yeah, it's very different. It's very different.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you. Okay, number 10, the last one
Yeah.
of the rapid fire that has never been rapid. Um, I did touch on it, how you do give back, to sport now, but I would love it if you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think I f like, I can like I kinda mentioned, but I wouldn't be here was if it wasn't for a lot of, um, different people, like Lisa and, uh, a good friend of mine, Dallas, and, um, a family who let me stay with them all the time, like, all of my
Yeah.
sports science people, and all of my coaches and whatnot, so I think for me, like, for what I'm doing as a career now, like being a sports scientist and I teach classes and stuff, for me, it's all about like kind of paying it forward.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just something I feel I need to do. And I think when it comes to a lot of the safe sports stuff now,
Mhm.
um, I think I had some experiences in sport, high performance experiences, most notably like when I was at the University of Saskatchewan, where it was very high performance, but in like a really fun and inspiring way. And so
Yeah.
I think for me, being in these more athlete leadership roles, it's about like trying to make like I think every athlete deserves that type of experience. And so
Mhm.
um and it's like like when you're given a platform, like if you don't say something, no one else can.
Yeah.
Like nobody else can say it. So you have a responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a
And
lot
you're
of pressure sometimes.
you're vice chair of the athletes council for the para Canadian team. How did you
Yeah,
fall into that?
it was just one of those things like,
I don't use it. You don't fall into it. You devote your time to it.
yeah, someone asked me if I would be interested, and I said, "Sure." I didn't really know much about it, to be honest,
Mhm.
and then I got involved, and I think, like, in general, working with the Paralympic Committee has been so much fun, like, I really do love it a lot,
It's
and
a great
I
team over there.
it really is, and, um, I think out of all of the organizations, I've, like, been a part of, just the whole, like, how they really do value the athletes, and
Mhm.
I think, like, with that too, they really do want to see, um, like, you kinda leave as the best version of yourself, so there's, like, even mentorship and everything else, and yeah, I don't know, it's been I just love being a part of the Team Canada,
That's
um,
awesome.
and
Yeah,
trying to help
it's
the
a
sport
privilege.
system be better. Yeah.
Yeah, for the athletes for sure. Now let's talk
Mhm.
about let's rewind back to your knee surgeries. You were playing basketball, able-bodied, 3 knee surgeries, and the last one left you with no cartilage. Is that correct?
Yeah, so, if like, for example, when a person gets a knee replacement, it's because they don't have any cartilage, and
Mhm.
so I tore the cartilage off of my femur and tibia,
Yeah.
um, on the outside of my knee, so my knee kinda sits like this, my
I wouldn't
bones rub against
Oh, your bones rub against, yeah, for the listeners that can't see it, that's just like bone on bone.
bone on bone,
Ugh.
and, yeah, it's crazy, like, even I don't know how I realize it, but it's coming up 10 years
Oh my
now, like,
gosh.
this summer, and, yeah, it was so intense. It was, a very, very life-changing, moment.
Mhm, and so that surgery,
Yeah.
the 3rd was it the 3rd one that came about?
Yeah. Yeah, so, it was pretty crazy, like so what happened was the year before that, I had a lot of injuries, it was not great, but
You're an
I
athlete,
broke my
that's normal.
ankle. Yeah. So I broke my ankle in September of the previous year,
Yeah.
and so it was one of those things where I really loved the program, um, and I wasn't necessarily sure what I wanted to do long term, so I would thought to myself, "Well, I'll just redshirt this year and save a year of eligibility, then I'll have an
What
extra
does red
year."
shirt mean?
It means, like, you practice, but you don't play in games,
Okay, okay.
and train, and so I did that, and then,
With a bad ankle.
yeah, and I changed a lot of things, I would say I kinda brought my training to another level just from a priority standpoint when you're young.
Yeah.
I don't know if you kinda went through like this,
There's a time to when
yeah,
you step it up, and then there's a time when
yeah,
you probably would walk away.
exactly, and
Yeah.
so, that year I trained really hard, and I was in a practice, it was like the Monday of May long weekend, and I, like, just did a movement and my knee kinda felt funny. It wasn't, like, excruciating pain or anything, like, I finished the practice,
Yeah.
and then a friend of mine and I went for dinner, and my knee started swelling up, um, and then I went to the doctor and stuff, the following week, and they said, "Oh, you probably have a bone bruise," and in my mind, I was so mad because I would be out for, like, 6 weeks or something,
Bone bruises take
and
a
then
while.
yeah, and then what happened was I, like, did an easy workout and my knee got super swollen again.
Okay.
Um, and then I went and I was so mad because I thought I had, like, a similar injury to before, and I thought it would be up to December, and I thought it was the worst news ever.
Yeah.
And then I
It
got
kind
an
of is the
MRI.
worst news ever for an athlete that just wants to keep going.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then he called me and he's like, "You need to come into the office tomorrow." And I was like, "I need surgery." And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, I'll be back in like January, so I guess it's not all that bad." Like trying to reframe the situation. He
Yeah.
goes, "Actually, it's way worse than I thought, and you won't be able to play again." And
This was on a phone call? He did that on a phone call?
no,
This was in
I went
person?
in person. And what's so crazy though is that
I
I actually had to call.
wanna cry right now. It's
Yeah,
awful.
it was terrible. And what's so crazy though is that I called Lisa
Yeah,
when she was at the Olympics coaching in
yeah,
2012.
yeah.
And then yeah, that was my knee surgery. And then after that, for probably 4 or 5 months, I
Whoa,
was
whoa, whoa, wait, what
like,
did Lisa say?
she like, what can you say? Like
Oh my
everyone.
gosh.
And like it's funny because I think I had a lot of support. Like I had a lot of, at the time, alumni who were my previous teammates. So like the way the community did everything they could to help
Yeah.
support me. Like
That's what's
it was
important for
incredible.
sure.
The school, all of my profs,
Yeah,
Husky, like the athletic department, like everyone they did absolutely everything they could to help me through that process.
yeah. And then did it
It was
just click? You
incredible.
had this, like, memory of someone that you knew that was in wheelchair basketball?
Well, it was really strange. I think she was in my class or something, and I just kind of said like what is wheelchair basketball? And she kind
Okay.
of I think we were partners in something, and she kind of
Mhm.
explained, and she goes, "Oh, anyone could come out." As I was still on crutches, and so in my mind, I'm like, "Well, it's something to do," because I
Okay.
haven't been doing anything,
Right.
and so I
You went
tried
from,
it.
like, elite athlete to, on
Nothing.
crutches.
And
Yeah, it's the
yeah,
worst.
and my mind, I was like, so I had the mindset of I like train really hard from Monday through Thursday. Then we play games Friday, Saturday, and then every Saturday night I would just go out like
Yeah.
party so hard every
Ayo.
single week.
You're
Yeah,
like, "This
like
is my new life."
I thought I was on top of the world every single time. I had so much fun, right? Not
Okay.
conducive to high performance sport, but
No.
whatever. And so the thing is, though, is that like when I hurt my knee, I was like, well, I don't have sport anymore. I can just go out all the time. So
Right.
for like for a few months, like I was just going out all the time,
Yeah.
making really bad decisions.
Mhm.
Like started doing really poor in school,
Oh,
not eating well because like for me all of that stuff was for like
to support
performance.
sport and not your actual
Yeah,
body. Yep, I
health.
hear you.
Yeah. And then what happened was I kind of hit like rock bottom, eventually
Mhm.
ran out of gas.
Yeah, you can't last on
And
that for so long.
no,
Forever.
I like crashed like straight off the mountain into the ground. But
Oh my
then
gosh.
couple of months later, Bruce Craven, he called me, and he's the guy I was working with the year before, and I didn't know this, but he kind of like he literally drew a T on a white piece of paper, and he said, "You have two options.
Okay.
You can listen to me and do your physio and start working with a dietitian, sports psychologist,
Yeah.
um, and go see the academic advisor." Because it's so funny, and no one back home can even understand that I'm doing a PhD, but I wasn't a great student
Yeah.
in my undergrad. But then he said you can do all these things, and you can actually make the national team for wheelchair basketball and go to the Paralympics. Um,
So he's the
and
one that opened that
I
vision
had
for
only,
you.
yeah, I'd only seen it once, like the one practice, and like I didn't really like it. But
Oh,
then
you
actually
had you
right
played
after,
or you just watched it?
kind of both. I watched and
Okay.
then sat in
And
the
you
chair for like,
you're like, "I'm not into it?"
no, I didn't like it.
Okay.
But then,
And then?
yeah, yeah, then he told me that, and I literally was on crutches. I went to my car and I messaged Lisa and I said, "Hey, hey, coach, Bruce says if I listen to him, I can go to the Paralympics in 2016." I really don't know if either of them ever thought it would be possible, but
Okay.
she was kind of like, "Yeah, I think that's a good decision for you. You should try." And
I love it.
yeah, then the next day was like kind of back in going back to high school, just in my mind that, oh, if I train every day, I'll get there.
Yes. See, it is. It's all about the like being
Yeah.
positive. That's so amazing. Wow. So
Yeah.
how
So
did you end up qualifying for the 2016 games? Like, because
yeah.
I would assume that everyone that wanted to go didn't get to go.
Yeah, it's I don't know really, like I
Do you get
I
selected to
work
the team in a specific way, or is there like an order?
yeah, I think there was around 20 athletes in like a pool
Yeah.
to get selected, and um yeah, it was one of those things I just really, really wanted to go, and that's kind of what brought me to Alabama to train there full time,
Okay.
um, and everything else. But like, yeah, it was intense. Like it was like 4 years of being so focused and everything. Like when I made the team, I like cried for 3 hours. Like
I love it.
I yeah,
As you
I
should,
was
as you should. And then when you got
yeah.
to the 2016 games,
Mhm.
did you guys, uh, go into the opening ceremonies and the closing ceremonies, or was it just on the games? Because you play throughout the whole time, right?
Yeah, so we unfortunately didn't get to go to the opening ceremonies.
Which most
Um,
people don't. Most athletes don't
yeah,
go, and a lot of the listeners might not know that. So, I do think that's, like,
yeah,
a really cool tidbit to know.
yeah, and I th it's funny. I think through my athletic career, I think I did a good job of having no regrets in terms of, like,
Mhm.
trying to be too high performance and intense and saying no to everything,
Yeah.
but, um, I think I would, like, say to people, like, try to attend those types of things, and
Yeah, sometimes
even
I
the like
think did you go to
yeah,
closing?
we did, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the
No,
coolest
it
one
was
anyways.
yeah, no, it was fine.
Yeah.
It's just yeah, no, we played like the next morning at like 10 or something,
Yeah,
so
you would not
we
have
really
wanted to go.
no, no,
Like
no, we really couldn't.
yeah,
I guess I wish with the opening ceremonies that they would have them
like
like
earlier or something?
yeah, maybe like let's say it's on a Friday and the games officially don't start until Sunday. Like
Yeah,
just have the day after them completely off so people
right, so people get to
aren't
go.
in those situations.
It is
Yeah.
interesting because there are some athletes at the
Yeah.
Olympics that compete before opening ceremonies, and they're
Yeah.
actually done. Like, they may
Yeah.
not qualify, and you're like, "Okay, the opening ceremonies haven't even started," and you're just like, "Oh, man, what a crazy experience."
So then I just stay in the village for 2 weeks.
Who knows? Yeah, it depends on their
Yeah.
country too. Okay, so
Yeah.
how was the Paralympic experience for you?
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I think yeah, I think because we had Pan Ams, and that was my first multi-sport games in Toronto,
Oh,
in
yeah, those
2015.
sounded amazing. I
They
feel like
really were.
Toronto did it right.
Yeah, it was, I just remember, um, I was just so young too, and that
Yeah.
was, like, my first, like, Team Canada
Right,
event,
and then
so,
you kinda get an
like
idea of what it's like, right? Did that
yeah,
prepare you
and
for the para games?
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
I think though, like, even if you're not necessarily out and about doing things, like the stimulation of being in a games environment is
Yeah.
so exhausting.
Yeah.
And I find it's like, I know for me, I'm kind of like, it's funny because I am extroverted, but I'm also very introverted. And at that games, I guess I learned like I do need to figure out time slots on where I can have my own time,
Hmm.
especially in a team sport. So, oh yeah, there were a lot of um, learnings like that for sure. That was
Yeah,
the
for
biggest
sure.
one though.
Because you always have a roommate, right?
Yeah, always a roommate and
Yeah.
always like team dinner, team bus,
Nonstop.
prac. Yeah, and like I really like spending time with people, but then at the same time, it's like on a Monday to Friday basis, I live by myself.
For
So
sure.
I do get that own alone time. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I think
it
people
was,
are learning
yeah.
that during the pandemic as well.
Oh, for
They're
sure.
learning
Like
the
I was,
opposite. I need people.
yeah, yeah.
Wild. Well,
So,
any huge takeaways from the 2016 Rio Games other than learning more about yourself
um, I think just enjoy.
and a
It's so
fifth place?
cliche. Yeah, like just enjoy the moment and it's such a privilege to be a part of that stuff.
Hmm.
So, um yeah, I even know now like there's certain processes and little journeys I'm going through where I am kind of stopping and being like, "Hey, this is actually pretty cool."
Right.
Um
Rather than
enjoy it.
on to the next. It's
Yeah,
more like there is a reason people say take a second to look at the flowers, smell the
yeah,
roses, because we are, I think as athletes, we just are so driven and focused to go on to the next thing that reflecting doesn't happen often enough.
yeah, I agree. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, now I don't like I chase things, but I think I'm much more present and not always like just focused on the future.
Mhm.
More so being like, here I am right now, and I'll eventually get there.
I love it. So awesome.
Yeah.
Erica, where can people find you online if they wanna keep up with everything that you're doing?
Maybe Instagram or Twitter,
Yeah.
probably.
What are your handles?
Yeah. So I don't know why I did this, but I'm at the point of no return.
Okay.
So my Twitter is my first name, then my last name, so Erica Gable.
Yeah.
And then on Instagram it's my last name, then my first name, so Gable Erica.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Well, thank you so much, Erica, for
Uh,
dropping in today. It was a pleasure to chat with you.
yeah, thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Awesome. Thanks so much for dropping in today. You can find everything you want to know about Dropping In with Mercedes at droppinginwithmercedes.com. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Thanks, DJ Kenosis, for the music, and my mom for the intro voice.